And these are the reasons why investment bags do not exist anymore. And I'm eating my words, because not that long ago, I used to talk about investment bags. Now I feel like investment bags, and maybe even designer, is starting to feel over and outdated. Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Investment bags, not so long ago, well, maybe like 5 years ago, definitely 10 years ago, I used to come on here and I used to talk to you about investment bags, and I actually used to show you real examples of bags that I had bought, that I had sold and made some money on, or if I hadn't made money on them, I had at the very least made back what I paid. There were exceptions to the rule. Gucci tends to be really bad. It's really hard to make back your money on Gucci. There are other brands that are a bit the same, Balenciaga, etc., for their problematic reasons. But even before that happened, it was difficult. But brands like Chanel, it was easy to get your money back out of a product. And for that reason, I always used to say to you guys, do you know what, if you want the classic flap, yeah, it's £4,500. This was 2016 when I bought mine. So glad I bought mine for that price. I used to say to you, buy it for £4,500, you'll get that money back. And very often you could sell it for £5,000, because at the time, prices for Chanel were not shown online, so no one knew really how much they were. A lot of people want the bag but were nervous about going in store and wouldn't dream of asking how much is that bag, so they would pay you a little bit over. And you know, for that reason, always was worth buying. But things have changed, and I've got sort of like several reasons why I think everything has changed. The first main reason is Gen Z. Gen Z are like what designer brand, they are who designer brands are currently going after. Millennials, a lot of us, we've grown up a little bit. Maybe you've got a family, you've got a mortgage, you've got bills to pay. Maybe you've just grown out of luxury and that sort of treating yourself thing. But you know what I mean? I think a lot of us have sort of moved on from that. Whereas Gen Z, they're still in that age bracket where maybe they don't have just yet the level of responsibility that you end up having as you get slightly older. And they're in that bracket where where the spare money they have, what do they do with it? Some obviously save, some like to travel, but some like to buy luxury. But they are not predominantly buying luxury from boutiques brand new. They're abstaining from that. They are buying second-hand, vintage. And they're doing that because of sustainability. Gen Z are very about sustainability and about that sort of like cyclical use of fashion, things not being chucked out, you know, things being reused. But also they're about quality, and there is this association with vintage pieces that things were better made back in the day and they cost a lot less. But also with Gen Z, they don't want to be ripped off. I think a lot of us don't want to be ripped off. Most of us don't want to be, all of us don't want to be ripped off. But they in particular are not willing, for the sake of just going into a boutique and having a glass of champagne, they're not willing to do that to go and spend thousands of pounds more on a product that they can get for thousands of pounds less buying secondhand. And that is a big problem for these designer brands. And these designer brands are really making headway to try and address that and to try and win Gen Z over. But is it working? It's not really, and I don't think it will. And they are trying to do things like they brought back the Murakami line, Louis Vuitton. And I really think, yeah, that was aimed at millennials, those of us who wanted those pieces in the 2000s but couldn't afford it because we were too young to buy it. But also I think that was a more youthful collection that probably was aimed at Gen Z, thereabouts. And the fact that Gen Z are looking at vintage Y2K pieces, so they were like, right, two birds, one stone here. We can potentially grab hold of the millennials that wanted these pieces back in the day, but also Gen Z who were buying those old pieces from Y2K, vintage pieces. Let's grab them as well. The next big thing is price rises. Price rises boils my blood. Like, I really think that the way prices have gone over the years is actually gross. If you look at the Chanel Classic Flap, we'll take that as an example, as a really good example. That bag, so I bought mine in 2016 and it was 4,500. And I remember at the time, the average bag was around about 2,000. And I remember when I bought it thinking, oh, I'm spending £2,500 more on this bag, more than I would if I bought something else from Chanel or from anywhere else. And it felt like a lot. Like, I remember at the time, the Lady Dior in the medium size was £2,600. £2,600. Like, I wish I bought more of them. But do you understand, like, the difference, how much extra it felt to be buying that Chanel classic flap? I bought it. I'm really glad I bought it for the price I did, because that bag is now around about £10,000 in the larger size. Now, we are going to come onto the pre-loved market in a minute, and I want to talk about that because, guys, if you are watching this going, yeah, what you're saying, okay, it is what it is, but I still want to buy luxury, is it worth doing? If you're still into luxury, I do think it's still worth buying if it makes you happy. But there are ways of doing it, and there are some massive savings to be made right now that I'm going to come onto in a second. But if you think of the Chanel Classic Flap, if you got into financial difficulties and you needed to sell that bag and you've just bought that for 10k, how many people out there are going to pay you £10,000 for that bag? £10,000, that's Hermes money, you know, for like a Constance or something that's probably going to hold its value a bit more. With Chanel, I think they've priced themselves out. I think they were trying to be like Hermes, but I don't think it's quite worked for them. They're a different horse and a different race. The next big one is economic uncertainty. There's so much going on right now around the world, like tax hikes. Shall we talk about tax hikes? No, we won't. But there are some really big tax hikes going on. But also in China. You know, I saw some information on Instagram the other day about the number of people in China who are leaving the country. And it's the same in the UK. A lot of people are leaving because it's getting really expensive. And I think the middle classes who would once have gone and bought your product, not only have you priced them out by making your stuff more expensive than it's worth, in my opinion, but also with economic uncertainty, a lot of people are thinking, there's bigger things right now to be spending my money on, and in all of this uncertainty, do I want to go and buy a bag for like £5,000, or would I rather keep that money for a rainy day? And I think this is another big thing. And then finally, this is like quite a big one, but I think that quality and the pre-loved market are big things here. So for example, quality. A lot of us are looking at products and questioning whether they're really worth it. I'm going to show you some things that I got from Chanel in the last few recent years, and the quality was shocking. Like, if you told me these pieces were fake, I would believe you. I actually, the little silver pouch, I bought that during lockdown and they posted it to me, and I remember being so nervous posting that back because it looked so fake. I thought, what if they accused me of returning a fake to them because it looked that bad? Thank God the serial number was, I seem to remember it was on the receipt or something, and obviously matched up to the serial number in the product. But so disappointing. I remember unboxing that for you on this channel, and I remember being so excited about it. And when I opened it and I looked at it, I was like, I even thought, shall I not put this video out? Because it was so embarrassing for the brand, in my opinion, to be making that kind of thing. And actually, I probably shouldn't say, I had a salesperson who told me that they had all questioned, when the batch of those came in, they'd all questioned the quality of it. And Chanel were like, no, that's how it is. Go and sell. Pre-2008, I think it was 2008, hardware on Chanel bags was gold plated. For the price of them, that just added extra value to that product. They stopped doing that, and I don't know why they stopped doing it, because for the prices that they are charging, they could more than afford, I'm sure, to paint a little bit of gold on their hardware. And the great thing with that hardware, that gold plating, is you'd think it would rub off. And I've got something from 1989, like a classic flap. It hasn't rubbed off at all. It still looks like that deep yellow gold tone. This is another thing that a lot of people are after. There is kudos in owning a vintage piece. There is kudos in owning something that is like 20 years old plus. People, I went to Tokyo, right? And I was walking around Tokyo in a lot of the pre-love shops there. And it was like a blast from the past. So many pieces I was seeing that I was like, oh my God, I remember that from years ago. And it felt cool to own it. And I do feel like pieces years ago, like the designs felt more exciting and more inspired. The prices were a lot better. The quality was a lot better. Now I feel like everything has got so boring and so expensive. And then finally, pre-loved, like this is the thing I need to tell you about. Guys, if you are wanting to buy luxury, I'm not saying not do it, but I'm saying that be really selective with what you buy. And I know that you might want that in-store boutique experience, I get that. But is it worth, let's say, £2,000 to have that in-store experience? Like, I'm going to give you an example. Hermes, you know the Picotine that I've got back here, the orange one? I've been looking recently to get another one in a different colour just because I love that bag. It's like quite casual, fits a lot of stuff, great, love it. I've been looking on Vestiaire Collective and I have been mind blown. Tell you why. There are Picotines on there that are pretty much new, and they are, so I paid £3,800 for that bag. I paid overs, because if you can get the bag from Hermes, it's £2,500, right? But you can't really get it unless you get lucky and it comes up on the website and you check out in time. It's very difficult to get it. So I've been looking pre-loved. When I bought that bag in February, all of the Picotines, if you wanted a decent one and the person hadn't lost the keys, etc., and it came with its dust bag, you were looking at like the top end of 4,000. Now, prices have dropped. Go and look on Vestiaire. The Picotine, there's so many on there, not just for 2,500, which is RRP, but less. They aren't selling. There are some that I've hearted on there that I'm following, and like literally every other day when I'm checking, they've been reduced by another £50, another £100. There are some that I'm waiting to pounce on once they have reached a hustle price, which I'm willing to pay. But go and look pre-loved. Chanel as well. You can buy classic flaps on there. They might not be brand new, but you can buy classic flaps on there for like half the price of what they are in store, for around about £5,000. And in store for that largest size, you're looking at 10, you know? You can make a really big saving. And I think this is another reason why investment bags are not a thing anymore, because no longer can you buy a bag and sell it for what you paid or sell it for more, unless you have a bag that you bought many years ago for a lot less. In current days, I feel like these price hikes have been the nail in the coffin for investment bags. Now, if investment bags are not a thing anymore, what is true luxury? To me, true luxury is being debt free. If you are someone who is in debt and you're struggling with it, I've done many videos. I can link to like a playlist that I've done on it. Many years ago, when I came out of university, I was in so much debt. I thought there was no way out. I was in like £40,000 worth of debt. I had a job that didn't even pay me £1,000 a month, and my bills were more than what I was paid per month. So every month I would go into an unarranged overdraft, even more, and there was nothing I could do about it. I was working 2 jobs. I was working in the week and on the weekends. Couldn't do any more. Crazy. If you are struggling with debt, you can get yourself out of it. I do believe in you, because if I could do it, you can do it. And I've done videos on how I managed to do it. But being debt-free is like one of the #1 luxuries. The other luxury is things like travel. I have really reached a point in my life where I'm like, do you know what? I know it's really depressing, but one day we're not going to be here. And those bags, those shoes, those clothes, we can't take them with us. But what we can take with us are the memories we make. So for me, like, I love eating out, fine dining. I do that so much. Which is why I've gained weight, but also travel. All of those things, hanging around with friends, family, all those things, they are the true luxuries that you actually get to take with you. And I see this a lot more now. A lot more people with their handbag money, they're spending it on a nice flight somewhere to go on holiday somewhere, because that is more valuable than the bag. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I would love to get your thoughts. Like, it doesn't matter what your thoughts are. If you feel like your thoughts go against the grain of what I've said, doesn't matter. I still want to know what you have to think. I love getting your feedback, so let me know. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.